In this video, we're going to have a look at how to keep a genuine conversation going effortlessly without having to think too much, without trying to make anything happen. We're going to talk about doing that using the 3X model, which I originally designed to help people with social skills and with keeping conversations going. It's based on modeling off people who are already best friends or great partners and how they have a conversation. One of the key things that's going to make this easy for you, or easier for you, is letting go of the outcome. See, most people in a conversation, especially a high stakes social situation, they're trying to get something to happen. They're trying to make something happen. And that is what gets in the way of making the conversation effortless. By the nature of trying to get something, you're making it effortful. And that makes it even harder to think of what to say, makes it harder to listen. Rapport is the connection as it's happening. It's not a destination you get to. You arrive at it as soon as you're being mindful, as soon as you're paying attention, as soon as you're being honest with someone. The moment honesty comes out of your mouth, or the moment you carefully listen to someone, you have rapport with them. That's it, you've arrived. There's nowhere you're trying to get to. So understand, this is about process rather than outcome. This is about how the conversation happens, not where does the conversation lead. One metaphor I like to use is a tennis match. So this isn't about winning the tennis match. This is about having a good rally. Okay, you hit the ball to them, you wait for them to hit it back. Wherever they hit it back, that's where you go, and you hit it however you want to hit it. And you only hit it once, right? You let them have their turn in between each of your shots. You both contribute equally to the game. That's how a good rapport building conversation goes, just hitting it back and forth to each other with no end in sight. I think the key focus for building this ability is to develop the skill of allowing whatever they've just said or done to be your inspiration for what you will say next. Now, what this means is you wait until they've finished saying or doing whatever it is they're going to say, and then you reflect on that, and that will prompt you with natural and spontaneous and honest ideas, thoughts, feelings that you then express to them. So you don't need to be thinking of what you're going to say next while they're still talking, because you're waiting for them to inspire you rather than trying to control the conversation. So the 3X model is very simple. The first stage is curiosity, observing someone, noticing things about them. What catches your attention? What stood out to you? What's important to you? The next stage of the model is honesty. You just express whatever it is you've noticed as concisely and accurately as possible. And then the third stage is respect. You now stop talking, you give your full attention to them, you listen to what they're saying with no further plans for the future. And then when they've finished talking, you get curious about what they've said, you observe whatever it is you've observed, and you go back around like that. As I've already said, the key focal point is to notice your reaction to what they've just said, and then express that as much as possible. Now, this can be all kinds of different things. Maybe they reminded you of an experience, so you share a memory. Maybe they made a certain emotion come up in you, so you share a feeling. Maybe they made a statement that you have an opinion about, so you share an opinion. You let them lead you, and in turn, they will be led by you. You don't need this conversation to go in any particular way. It doesn't have to follow a nice story arc like a movie where it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Rapport conversations don't go like that. They just go all over the place. They're art rather than science. It can go anywhere it needs to go, anywhere you're prompted to go. You can start off talking about the war in the Ukraine. You can end up talking about your mother's favorite flowers. That's fine. It doesn't have to make sense. All it is an honest reaction to the last thing they said. When it comes to starting the conversation, if you want to initiate it, it's just an honest reaction to what you observed about them before the conversation started. How you felt when you saw them, something you noticed about them, something you noticed about the environment you're in that you want to share with them. It starts with an observation like that, and then you just keep going. You also have to give yourself permission to say things like, my mind's gone blank, or I've got nothing. If you have the permission to say that I've got nothing to say, or I feel like I've got nothing to say, or I've got something to say, but I don't feel comfortable saying it, if you're allowed to say stuff like that, then you never run out of things to say. Because you can always talk about running out of things to say, which is something to say. Remember, if you've got no outcome in mind, you're free to say this. Now, if you want it to go well and you want to make them like you, you're going to feel like you can't say stuff like this. That's why you have to let go of those outcomes. Maybe they won't like you. Maybe they'll think you're stupid. Maybe they won't respect you. Maybe they don't want to go home with you. These things may happen if you're having an honest conversation. But remember, this course is about building rapport. We don't want to force rapport on somebody who's not good for us. It wouldn't actually be rapport if we did that. So if us having a natural conversation with somebody does not go well, then maybe they're not a person we should have in our lives, and we should go find someone else. We have to be willing for that result to happen in order to unleash rapport building. Silence is fine. Maintain eye contact or look away, it's fine. Natural conversations between best friends and lovers, they wax and wane. Sometimes they're talking, sometimes they go quiet. Sometimes it's intense, sometimes it's lighthearted. It can go all over the place, up and down. In fact, if it doesn't have a range of depth, if it doesn't have a range of kind of intensity and quietness, then something's probably forced. A real conversation, there's breaths, there's relaxation time, then there's intense time. So don't panic when that happens. If you're talking to someone at the new dance class and you both kind of go quiet to watch the dancing for a while, that's fine. The conversation's actually still going. It's just having a breath. Any given time, you can observe something and it picks back up again, or maybe they'll pick it up again. Right? A real conversation kind of has no beginning or end. Once you've met someone, you're in conversation for the rest of your lives indefinitely. But sometimes you might go for days or even years without talking. And then you come back and it's straight back into it. When you've got rapport with someone, the conversation's a kind of ongoing project that never ends. It never makes sense. It never has like a narrative that you're trying to follow. It's art. You just come and paint together every time you meet, and then when you separate, the painting waits for you to come back to it. That's it. So it might actually be frustrating to hear this, but a great conversation is really just any conversation with force removed. Stop trying to make something happen and instead allow it to happen. Allow yourself to say whatever you want to say. Allow them to say whatever they're going to say, and pay attention to what it is that they're saying. And that's really, really how easy and simple it is. The problem is, because very few people have had conversations that do not have some kind of force or pressure in them, this is an alien concept to them. You might have never really let yourself go in a conversation before. But you'll find that once you do, it's actually really easy. You don't have to think about it at all. You just say whatever comes to your mind. You stop talking when whatever that thing is said, and you wait for them to respond to it. That is it. There's the whole model. It couldn't be simpler. But the tricky bit is really just letting go of trying to make this go well, trying to get some sort of result, trying to feel a certain way, trying to avoid awkwardness, for example. Let whatever's going to happen, happen, and you will become a master of effortless conversations. Avoid asking questions if you can. Questions generally, if nothing else, have the manipulative intention of keeping a conversation going, which goes against the idea of an effortless conversation. Now, sometimes you might ask a question because that is the best way to express genuine curiosity, like you actually care about the answer, you're fascinated by what's being discussed, you want to know more. If a question pops out of you while that's happening, that's okay. But if you're in a deep silence, thinking, oh God, I've got to end the silence, and you throw a question out there like a fishing line to reel them back in, that's not rapport. Okay, that's force, that's pressure. So one of the ways you can break this pattern is, instead of asking questions, make a statement. I'm curious about this, for example, or I'm intrigued about this. And just express your interest in the thing rather than asking directly about it. Now, whether or not they respond to that interest and stay on that topic is up to them. You're keeping it free for them. You're taking the pressure off. They don't have to answer a question because there isn't one. With a question, they're limited with how they can respond without being weird. Overall, when you're willing to lose someone forever, or even just willing to have an awkward moment with them, then you'll be free to be just open and honest and basically effortless during a conversation. The only effort you're really making is the courage to initiate the conversation, if that's your role, and to speak the truth. It's not so much an effort to keep things going or to make the person like you, but more to live with integrity yourself. And I'm telling you from experience and having coached hundreds of people to do this, it really does work. Pay attention to what they just said and what you observed. Be honest about that. Stop talking when you've made your point and let them go again. And that's it. You can talk like that with someone forever, from meeting them through to being married for 50 years. That style of conversation never gets old.